Happy Easter to everyone, and you're welcome to episode number 41 of the Voices of Boyle. I'm joined by Colm Duignan this week as he reflects on his own personal fitness journey, overcoming business hurdles during the COVID-19 years, and the entrepreneurial insights he's gained from running a brick-and-mortar gym in Boyle. Join us for a candid conversation that delves into the dynamics of the gym business, the power of cultivating a supportive community, and the importance of prioritising sustainable health and wellness practices over quick fixes. And before we jump into the episode, you can now support the Voices of Boyle podcast on ko-fi.com. You can click on the link in the description or visit ko-fi.com/Voices of Boyle. Your support fuels our passion to continue to record, edit and produce these episodes every 2 weeks. So thank you, and I hope you enjoy the episode with Colm. Colm, you're very welcome to the Voices of Boyle. Thanks very much for coming along.
No problem, thank you.
So you were born in the late 80s?
Yeah, 1987.
So give us a little snapshot of what life was like in Boyle back growing up in the 90s, just to kick things off.
I suppose in the 90s it was just spent, as soon as you finished school, you were grabbing a football somewhere and you were heading off. So my granny lived in Tarman, so a lot of time was spent up Plunkett Avenue trying to play football, but unfortunately the likes of Lee McKillen, them were always better. So yeah, that, or you'd be, as soon as you were good enough on a mountain bike, you were rallying around back roads somewhere, making your own fun.
Rolling in the mud, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah, and just, it was like a lot of just outdoor stuff, having fun, and just, football was a gigantic part of it.
Yeah. And so you went to school, you finished school in 2004-ish then, 5?
Yeah, 2004 I done the Leaving Cert, so went to primary school in St. Joseph's out there. Then I got to experience both secondary schools. Done the junior cert through St. Mary's, which I probably learned more life lessons from St. Mary's than I did anything about education.
I think we all did, yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest, the stories out of St. Mary's, it'll do me a lifetime anyway, so it was worth it. And then I done the Leaving Cert through Abbey Community College. So that was a bit of a culture shock going from an all-boys school that was, wild, then to having to be civilised because there was now girls in the class.
So what was that transition like? Because obviously I was a St. Mary's school that wasn't mixed then. So how was that like then, going from just all boys to suddenly girls sitting next to you or beside you in the room? Like, because as a young fella, it could be very socially awkward, I presume.
Yeah, and just you kind of had to act a little bit differently. So I suppose the problem with St. Mary's was we were the first class going into Abbey Community College, so we got the blue uniform. So when we started first year in St. Mary's College, everyone else had the green and grey uniform.
Okay.
And we landed in like the complete newbies with blue uniforms. So unfortunately, when we were going to lunch and that, we were the targets for the practice and the kick up the hole with the Doc Martens. And then... but then, obviously you go from that, like the crack you were having with just lads and like just typical young lad behaviour. Next thing you go in and like, there was cameras in school and everything was just a lot more civilised, and you're kind of going like, okay, no more farting in class.
Okay, and then playing sports in school up until Leaving Cert or any of that, what were you involved in? GA or football or soccer or whatever?
Both. So St. Joseph's then, like, we actually had a great primary school team. I think we won a county title and everything there out of that. So that was always good crack. You got to hang out the windows of the cars flying around town, which probably is frowned upon now. And then, of course, feeds of chips afterwards instead of protein shakes. But then, secondary school, a little bit of football, but obviously throughout secondary school, stuff like that, like I started suffering with my weight, so I started pulling back from sports a little bit. But I kept after school football up until like 16, 17 years of age anyways, both Gaelic and soccer. So I was a goalkeeper.
Right.
So I hadn't a bad pair of hands.
So you were goalkeeper in both sports?
Yeah, both sports, yeah.
And would you have a preference?
I always leaned soccer because growing up, like I was just Peter Schmeichel and Oliver Kahn, like they were my idols.
Yeah.
And then it broke my heart because years later I was at an airport and I met Peter Schmeichel and he wouldn't even talk to me.
Oh, really?
I was going like, so the whole thing is don't meet your heroes.
Yeah, well, that is true.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, but they were the idols. I remember I had Peter Schmeichel, the jerseys back in the day where they had the elbow pads and you'd be flinging yourself on concrete and everything with it thinking you were indestructible. But I think it was just because you were 16, you got away with it.
You got away with it, you did, definitely. So Leaving Cert came along. You did that and you went to college, I presume?
Yeah, I tipped down to Sligo IT. Now, it wasn't exactly because I wanted to go to college there. I was more obsessed with getting a car. So I said, do you know what? If I pick Sligo IT, it's a great excuse to buy a car. You know, I'd swing that by the parents quicker than...
Up and down you could get.
Yeah. I was going, it was more so I could belt around at weekends with freedom with a car. So, yeah, I went down there, done business management and HR across 4 years. And again, it was just great crack. Probably a bit, focused a bit more on the crack than the education, but I still got through it.
So you got what was it, a degree?
Yeah, the honours degree in business and HR, yeah.
Okay, and then, so that took 4 years.
Yeah, so that was 2004 to 2008.
So I think around 2008 then we had the recession hit.
Yeah, that's...
What? Tell us about that little era, or what happened after college. Did you go into a job straight away, or what was the process?
So it was just, everything's kind of like bad timing. So finished college in 2008, straight out, the arse fell out of the economy. So then the only job you would get in HR would be to go in and lay people off. So I didn't fancy doing that because there was redundancies left, right and centre. So then it was more of a kind of thing, with the being a young lad pumping money into cars. I had a few bills and tyres to be paying, and the old bit of tax on the car used to go missing. So it was just kind of take what was available. So I got a job in Sligo, just in a call centre. And then about 20 months in there, that also closed down. So I was made redundant out of there. And then just there was very little jobs. So then I ended up taking up another call centre job because they were the only employers at the time. And then, so that was more of a life sentence than an actual job.
Yeah. And so just to kind of go back then there to kind of adolescent life growing up in Boyle, was there any standout moments for you, or what were those days like? Because growing up you would have been an adolescent then in the early 2000s, that kind of from the late 90s to early 2000s. So what were those days like?
Well, I felt sorry for teachers actually when we hit St. Mary's, because we were the South Park, Jackass and Father Ted era. So
all rolled into one. So literally we would
we'd be acting the idiot in class all day just to get out at lunch to go down to the pleasure grounds and start reenacting whatever we seen Johnny Knoxville doing the night before on Jackass. And it was more bushes. Actually, hopefully the Tidy Towns team doesn't hear this. But it was just... We grew up on that MTV era where it was just non-stop messing and acting the idiot, and but the crack that was had, even now, when any of us meet up for pints or that, you'll still be talking about stuff that happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And you're just shaking your head and think how did some of us not end up in straitjackets?
Yeah. So you were a member, because I do remember my kind of early recollection of meeting or knowing you would have been a member of the famous Sunday sessions back in 2007-ish. Yeah,
the Super Sunday Club.
The Super Sunday Club, yeah. So tell us a little about that, because that had a couple of years of activity back in Boyle.
Yeah, so I think with the recession, stuff like that, there was very little outlets to do things. So apart from the pubs were always good crack. And there was always just a certain group of us would always be out, and then it just so happened that we'd bump into people, make friends, kind of thing, and then it just grew kind of where this group we'd always text around on the bank holiday Sunday and said we'll go on the beer. We could go into town and we'd just knock serious crack out, and then it just evolved to the point then where someone came up with the idea we should all get matching t-shirts.
Well, that's right, yeah.
That was, t-shirts. I think, 2007.
And did you have your name on them as well or something?
Yeah, so the blue ones we got had our own names on it. Either you could choose your name or a nickname or whatever you wanted, and that. But then it kind of then where the phone calls would go around town, the feckin' idiots in the blue t-shirts are in again. And I think it grew up. There's one photo that still exists. It was up outside the Crannog on Elphin Street. And I remember Jim Cass had green hair in it. It was Paddy's Day or something like that. It's just, it was wild, but like no joke, like the crack we had. And everyone got home safely. We looked out for each other, but there was, at one point, there had to be like 40 or 50 people.
Was it that many?
Like by the time the girls and all tagged along, like it was just...
Sure, any pub in town, though, had to, okay, they might be a little nervous about what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But that was a serious load of people and heavy drinking going on.
Oh.
30, 40 people coming into a pub on a Sunday would make up a pub, or I know you do the rounds maybe and all that. It must have been some crack. I remember Dean Taylor talking about in his episode, he talked about one day they were going in, they were in the Mylurg and they decided they were going to go downtown, maybe to the Well or somewhere. And they went off downtown, but someone had arranged, or someone managed to take the door off the hinges of the Mylurg, and there was a door being carried downtown by the groupie, and Kevin Tiernan and Smiley at the time rang them and says, lads, can you bring the door back to the pub? So I could only imagine some of the shenanigans that were going on.
Yeah, it was... Plenty of things went on, and I think a lot of lads wouldn't like to be repeated now.
Oh, of course.
But
what happens on tour stays on tour.
And I think it was just one of those, like, we used to take pride, like, you go in and like you'd be having that much crack, like you took pride if the barman had to go to another pub to borrow slabs of Bulmers, because we were just cleaning them out that quickly.
Yeah.
And like as soon as we emptied one pub, we just moved to the next one. And like it was...
And back then you had a choice of pubs, unfortunately. You know, you had at least maybe, back in those days, I think maybe at least 16 or 17.
Yeah, I think it was 16, 17. So like...
Crazy.
Yeah, like it was great crack. Like I remember going up to the Crannog, like we'd go in and we might be the only ones there. The jukebox would be hammering at 3 o'clock on a Sunday. And like... we would empty the place.
Oh, I can imagine. And like, I feel sorry in a way then for the younger generation that don't remember those days, like 20 years ago when we had, 16 or 17 pubs, because it's a completely different landscape today in Boyle. But so moving on then to, didn't you work in MBNA?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so
that was
tell
the
us,
second call
yeah,
centre.
so that is, yeah. And
yeah.
MBNA were huge, weren't they, at one stage?
Yeah,
huge.
Before I went in, I think at their peak, they had 1,100 working there. When I was in, there might have been like 500 or 600. But then when I was there, they went up for sale, and then they stopped employing. So the numbers started trailing off a little bit from there. So I was there, I can't remember now, but I'd done like 2.5 years there up until I was 25.
And it was basically sales, was it? Kind of telemarketing or something?
Yeah, that kind of way. So I was on the inbound section with the UK portfolio, so it was all inbound, but you were selling as part of it as well.
Okay.
And it's just one of those kind of like soulless environments.
Yeah.
And like
just cubicle kind of, you have your headset on your mic. Yeah.
You're taking 80, 90 calls a day, and guarantee you 20, 30 of those are not pleasant conversations.
Yeah. So obviously, which we're going to get on to, is people would know you now for having the Stronglife gym. And so you made a decision at some point then to maybe quit MBNA. What was the tipping point that led you kind of to say, I've had enough of this?
The tipping point would have been, when was it? 2014, 2013, definitely, probably towards the end of 2012. I was just going in and like you were hammering through work, and because the company was up for sale, so promotions were gone. So you couldn't actually get promoted.
It was up for sale at that stage?
Yeah, it was up for sale. I'm near sure, maybe it was early 2013 or that, but it was put up for sale. So you couldn't get promoted, but also like, if you just scrape by, like you also couldn't get sacked. So like you were kind of just stuck in this thing, and like there was no incentive to try and push yourself on, because like, where did you go? And then, so I was going in every day, chaining myself to the desk, putting on the headset, and it was just stress. Like you were getting abuse on the phone every day. You were trying to sell, even though you didn't believe in everything that you were selling, that kind of thing. And it was just constant pressure from the top down. And it was just a horrible environment. Like you'd see girls leaving offices after getting screamed at and they were crying, things like that. And like, it's just, there was just a bit of nastiness. And I was 24 at the time or that. And I remember just sitting at the desk and I was going like, is this what I'm meant to do for the rest of my life? And I started itching then. I was going like, I can't keep doing this. There has to be something else. And I think I just started itching then towards like taking some bit of a risk. So the way I was looking at it, especially when I hit 25 or that, I was thinking like, right, so at least if I take a risk now, take a chance, if it goes belly up, I still have time on my side that I could recover like mentally and financially by the time I'm 30. So like it just, and I'd no responsibilities, anything then. So I was thinking like, and then the job wore me down to the point. I remember I think it was a Sunday or a Saturday or that. And I was sitting at my desk and I remember I put on the headset and I was an hour in and I just said, I actually can't do this anymore. So for sitting at my desk, I remember I text my mother, like every Irish lad does, text mammy. And I said, I don't think I can do this anymore. And I can't remember exactly, but I remember she just texted back and she said, like, do what's best for you. She said, you'll find work. It's not going to be a problem. She said, if it's getting you that stressed and you're not enjoying that much, she said, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So then finished my shift that day, walked down, left my badge in the manager's desk and walked out the door. And like, I'll never forget that, like, it was like a euphoria walking out the door. It's just like, you just left it all behind. And like, I felt 3 stone lighter.
Yeah.
Just by walking out, I was like, oh my God. It was just I didn't care about the money. A lot of people were kind of hanging on to get redundancy, stuff like that. I was like, it doesn't bother me. I'm gone.
You obviously weren't happy. And if that becomes the motivating factor for someone to leave something that, as you said, you were young, you could kind of fail if needed to be to kind of figure things out. So after you left MBNA, had you kind of any plan, agenda? What were you going to do to kind of from here? Did you take a course? What did you do then after that, or did you take some time off? And
so when was it? Late 2012 or that, I actually, while I was working in MBNA, we'll cover like how I got into the fitness as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Later on. But like, so because of my love for the fitness stuff like that, I also started a personal training course while I was working in MBNA. So I'd work 5 days in Carrick and the other 2 I'd drive to Dublin to do the course. And I did that, I think, for 8 months. So just
up and down to Dublin 2 days a week.
Yeah, so I'd go up, I'd go up on a Thursday. So I went to MBNA, got my shifts changed. And so, I'd work 5 days and then I'd have to go to Dublin the other 2 to study, do that. So I did that for the months. And actually one of the problems towards why I wanted to walk out of MBNA as well was, so I got it all vetoed by a unit manager or whatever they were called at the time. And then when I came up to my exam, she decided to go back on it. She said, no, we can't actually approve that for you anymore. And I was going like, really? And I was, going, yeah, sorry. And I was going, yeah, that was one of the final straws. And then just, it had worn me down. So I was doing my qualification. So that was kind of something that I was keeping in the pipeline so that when I wrapped up, I kind of wanted to mentally recharge a bit and then just kind of start researching and scoping out and just kind of mapping something out. I think being positive while I was mentally detaching from MBNA.
Trying to be positive while it was a negative time in your life, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And then I just started drawing up kind of rough ideas for the gym, stuff like that, research. And then I started going up to Dublin just to get coached by a lad up there and just kind of figure things out, get a little bit of mentorship. And then just assessing the area in terms of like people, kind of what are people looking for in a gym? Like what do they need help with? And like, was there any kind of opening in the market for me to go into?
Yeah. So can you walk us then through the process of starting your own gym and what were some of the initial challenges you faced and how did you overcome them?
I suppose the biggest one is actually going from writing something down on paper to actually just trying it, to implementing it. Like even just sending the application into a bank. Like I remember I went over to the bank and the woman laughed, like not like because I went in and handed her a business proposal to get the financing to open, and she sat down. She just chuckled and she goes, "You've given me stuff that corporations come in and give me." She said like 4 to 6 pages would be fine. I give her 23. Like I had that detailed of a plan.
Right, you drilled down into the details.
Oh, everything. And she said like corporations come in here with this, and I was kind of like, oh well, at least a business degree came to some use.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that like that, it's just even then, it was just to find premises. I wanted somewhere with like 4 blank walls that I didn't have to go in ripping out walls because that opens up just hassle. You just don't know what you're getting into. I think then just researching equipment, what way designs. You had to also think about what markets you want to work with.
Yeah.
Everything down to financing, drawing out plans, how you were going to lay it out, the whole thing. Yeah. So I think it all kicked off fairly quick though. I remember like maybe it was that November where that was 2013. I got the finance and ordered equipment, stuff like that. And then kind of just started pushing things on from that February. Then I started working on it.
So
it was the February actually of 2014 I got the financing.
And you opened then in
May 2014 then.
So it's nearly 10 years.
Yeah, nearly 10 years.
And you've managed to keep open all during bar holidays, and maybe, I know we talk about maybe COVID, about maybe during them days, what did you do to overcome, or how did you adapt there? But so during the early years of your business then, you probably had to navigate through a few tough times, either maybe financially or maybe just trying to acquire new customers. Maybe tell us about those days, like what were they like?
Yeah, so first of all, Noah lied when he said build it and they'll come. I think that it's him that said it. I don't know who, but
it is the saying though.
Yeah. You know,
don't do any research, just build it.
Yeah, and they will come. Yeah, and I was going like, no, it's not that. You know, you open and like you pour all your own. You know, it's your baby, and you pour it in. You're just dying to get people in the door. But like any business now, you look back at it and like no matter what, you have to prove what you provide is worth someone handing you money for. So like it just. Even though I thought like, oh, this is going to be class, like it'll take off real quick, but you have to prove you know what you're at. And then, so sensibly, I started small. So I started in a much smaller unit than I'm currently in, just again to dip the toe in. It took some of the financial pressure off, but then obviously look at there's hidden costs and bills that walk in the door, and you're thinking like, fuck's sake, why didn't no one tell me about this? And then obviously you know you've all the finances hanging on your head, so you have to, at the end of the day, like it was a great thing to start off with as well, because suddenly then. You couldn't coast, you know, you couldn't get lazy. You couldn't just sit at a desk, collect your paycheck and go home. Like it's on you to make it work.
Yeah.
So I think it was good because it made me kind of put on my adult pants and get to work. So then like, you know, it was getting people in the door, providing a good service, building from there. And then just, it really, opening the door was the easy part.
It was actually, getting there, was it?
Yeah, that like opening the door was the easiest after that.
Okay, like, fulfillment.
Yeah, getting people in, actually providing a service, and then you're thinking like, wait a sec, how do I market this? Like, what channels do I go down? So then the learning starts. You know, you have to suddenly become a salesperson,
copywriter,
cool. Marketer. Yeah, you're emailing, you're admin, you're an accountant,
and people don't see all the hidden things that go behind running a business, a brick and mortar business, online business, especially whatever. It doesn't matter. There's always things that go on behind. They only see the kind of the end result.
Yeah, that's it. Like, you know, like a lot of people think when say you own the gym and like, you know, you're there, just you do those couple of hours. I was like, oh, I wish.
Yeah.
I would spend like 5 hours every Sunday doing admin and check-ins.
Yeah.
You know,
I want to talk as well about the kind of maybe the advertisement side of things as well. But did you fit? So when you made the decision to pursue a business in the fitness industry, did you face any lack of support when starting a new business, or was there any negativity, or you know, the old begrudgers that are?
Oh yeah,
you know, did you?
Oh, they came out quick.
Did they?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So I suppose starting off, I was always told like, you know, reach out to local representatives, stuff like that. Like loads of other people that set up business. Oh, they were brilliant to give me great advice, stuff like that. So I said, oh, I'll reach out, and it. Yeah.
Didn't happen.
No, it was a horrible phone call, and they were rude to me and everything. So it was one of those things. Then when coming up to opening, you know, you're buzzing, you're delighted, your baby is up and running now and stuff like that. So I reached out to kind of just some media outlets, stuff like that. And then none of them actually posted about it. So I think in a way, it's not even to look back and think ill of that. It's more to look at an early stage. I learned.
Spurred you on.
If I looked at it like, if this is going to work, I'm going to do it all myself. You know, like no one's going to turn up to give me a handout, anything like that. So I said like, yeah, fuck it. I said, I'm all in on this now.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you need that bit of spite. Then I was a couple of months in, and, you know, you'd always hear the whispers back, oh, such a fella's up there telling people now you'll never make it. 6 months you'll be gone. You won't see Christmas. All that. And so those little things, obviously, you know, in the early days, you've a lot of pressure on you, and you're...
The wolf whispers.
Oh yeah, the wolf, he won't keep the wolf from the door. That was the one line that came back. And I swear to God.
I think that's people's own inadequacy as well if they talk ill of someone like that, that's starting out in a business, especially when you're in your 20s as you are. It's hard. I know the economic climate has changed now, but still starting a business in your 20s, a physical brick and mortar business in the fitness industry, in somewhere like Boyle, not a big city or anything like that, it has to be tough. So to overcome challenges and hurdles along the way is probably to be expected. And as you said, you can learn from it though, So obviously fast forward then to maybe COVID, 2020. COVID came along, everywhere was shut. You probably did, like, how did that impact your business? Obviously it had to have.
Yeah, I was gone overnight. So one thing I learned through COVID is I'm a bit of a workaholic, and then sitting around just collecting $350 a week wasn't for me. I'd done it for a few weeks and I was going like, I'm losing my marbles here. Like, I like being busy. So I pivoted and I moved I started just doing some online programs, and I marketed them out, and actually, like, fair play to a lot of people in Boyle supported me through them. And like, we had good fun, and it was a good outlet to provide for people. And like, it was a positive thing for people to be doing during lockdowns. Yeah. And like, hands down, like, it kept the business afloat, like, because even though I think bills and that were paused for the first lockdown, but then all the following ones, everything, all those direct debit
restarted, yeah.
Yeah, everything kept going out. And I was just going like, right. So like, yeah, and it actually built up really well.
So you obviously had to transition, instead of people physically coming into your gym, you had to transition to an online model. And how did you manage to keep your clients engaged and motivated during, I suppose, especially the lockdown period?
Yeah, so the big thing was like actually just get them into so a lot of it was because I still had access to the gym myself, I could go in and like do all the workout videos. So like, it wasn't just you were telling them a plan, do that at home, I'll chat you on Sunday, like this weekly thing. So I done every single day. I went into the group and like, and like, you just chatted to them, had fun, you kind of sent out as much educational stuff, and you kept it basic, because like, at the end of the day, understanding, like, a lot of people in that time as well, they might have been worried, they might have been going through their own stresses, stuff like that. The last thing I want to do was turn up and adding more on top of that. So I wanted to just create something that gave them good results, but in a positive way. And then that way, it went brilliant. And like, there was great interactions within the Facebook group, stuff like that. Everyone was kind of chatting, and I always had like a private message with them, private conversation every single week as well. So it was just simply just focusing on looking after the person on the other end of the phone.
And did you find then, Colm, that during those early lockdown periods that you probably got a little boost of new customers? Because obviously it was a big focus on health, mental health, especially during those times. So people were getting out walking more, more than ever before. We saw that. Then if there was online gyms, like in your case there was, did you find you got a little boost of people coming and saying, I'm going to join this now because, so-and-so is doing it, and, it'll be good to kind of have, something to do, and there's actionable steps here, and also accountability, which is a hugely important aspect of fitness. So did you find you got a little boost of people coming in?
Yeah, like the first ones were good fun, and like numbers were good, and next thing it just, I can't remember exactly when, I'd have to look back, but like, yeah, and then it just exploded, like one or two ladies up in Dublin on it, like, so the net kind of went out. Then like, other people that were kind of going to their own gym somewhere else, but their gyms were no longer providing anything for them during the lockdowns, they were hopping onto it. I'd done it very cost effective as well, because look, everyone was kind of going in the same boat, and it was more just to provide a service and to keep myself busy, along with actually, helping people as well. And yeah, it actually blew up, and then it really helped to transition back when I got to reopen then.
Yeah. And so would you then view your gym as there's almost like, does it feel like a community, that the members there are part of a community, that they can spur each other on, help each other get over hurdles? Is there that kind of mentality? Because not all gyms have that.
Yeah, like it's one of the few gyms I feel, because I trained in several gyms, seminars, stuff like that throughout over the years, and even the last year or two as well. And like, you go in, like a lot of people, everyone kind of wears earphones. There's no one kind of chatting. Like, you go in, like, no one kind of might even know each other's names or anything like that. And I still have a very friendly group up there, like, to make friends, stuff like that, like to get to know each other, and like, they want to see each other do well. There's a very low judgment. Like, I don't have mirrors in the gym, stuff like that. So like, it's less about yourself and it's more about what you're actually doing.
That's an interesting take, isn't it?
Yeah. And like, even like, some people, especially these days, you know, Instagram, things like that, you think like you need a crop top and like
Yeah.
small shorts on, like if you're a girl, or like lads are in vests, stuff like that. I said, no, like majority of people rock in with a jumper and shorts on.
They just want to feel comfortable.
Yeah, and I just tell them, I said, look, I'm more worried about the training that you're doing rather than what you're wearing. So I said, like, just rock in with whatever you're comfortable, get the work done, and we're all happy.
So let's talk a little, Colm, about your marketing strategy or even your advertisement strategy, because in today's digital age, online marketing plays a crucial role in reaching potential clients. So could you describe your approach to marketing or advertisement for your gym business?
So I suppose it's transitioned so much. Like I'm just 10 years in almost now, and like in those 10 years, like I'd say it's changed 6 or 7 times. Your strategies are like what you're meant to be doing. The early days, like Facebook ads, I kind of actually got in early enough, like learning ads management, stuff like that, how to like campaigns, even like looking at your overall strategy for the year when you want to run like launches, things like that. And then like back then, because there was so little Facebook advertising, like it was brilliant. Like, whereas now, like anyone with a personal page, you'll see it on Instagram, things like that. Like you're getting these sponsored posts from like a personal page because bought a new handbag, or your guy got new runners. I was like, why is this sponsored? So like just the competition within Facebook ads, stuff like that, like went through the roof.
Yeah.
It's eased off a bit now. In the early days as well, blogging actually was massive for me, like just through organic SEO, stuff like that. So that was really big. And then obviously it transitioned away from that. And then like I was doing bits of email marketing, which is still brilliant. But then obviously Instagram came along, and suddenly then you're now having to go from there. So we've changed the way for people, kind of everyone suddenly started writing the same style with text posts, whereas now like video is the forefront because they're seeing the person behind the business. And I think a lot of people resonate like as well, like when they see the actual business owner is in the videos. Because I know myself, I've signed up to certain, say, coaching things, stuff like that, and you're signing up to the person that's in the ads.
Yeah.
But you don't get them out the other side. They're just there to get the money off you. And actually, like, what? Who are these people that are?
Yeah.
Where's he gone? There's no, he's busy. And so it always kind of leaves a bit of a sour taste. So like things like that. That's why I always put myself in the forefront. Like when it comes to that.
Did you take Facebook? Did you do any kind of Facebook ad training for like, did you take any course?
Yeah, several over the years. Again, like, you know, they've changed a bit, and obviously you probably know as well, like even like how to run campaigns has changed a lot within it.
Yeah.
The Cambridge Analytics thing a couple of years ago kind of screwed all that up, where like they wanted Facebook tracking less data. Then like even the retargeting and things like that kind of got pulled away a bit. Then obviously the Apple iOS changes, that all screwed things up as well, because people can select not to be tracked, things like that. So like, you know, there's all little things there.
A lot of people make a mistake as well when they're doing Facebook ads. They just boost post.
Yeah, and that's
you might as well just get the money and fire it against the wall. Because,
launch it into the fire.
Yeah, okay, I'm not saying it doesn't work, but the ROI from when you actually go into the ads manager and create active campaigns, like, you know, shadow posts that you can't see on your page, but they're being promoted. Yeah. I mean, I see a lot of yours. And I also see another Barry Crine, I think, do more.
Oh, yeah.
You two are the only two I see like locally that are, you know, consistently doing sponsored posts, and it's always there. Like, so it shows it works. A lot of people have a negative association with kind of paying to play, but especially with Facebook advertisement, there's a huge ROI on it if you do it correctly and you take the time.
That and like a lot of people say, oh, you know, some people have this thing, oh, if he's always advertising, he needs the money. But I was going like, that's like saying Mercedes are poor because they advertise, or Apple.
It makes no sense.
Like, you know, and like it's any of those platforms, like it's pay to play.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. But also, like, you know, learn those campaigns. I went to seminars actually up in Facebook and stuff like that in the early years as well. Just kind of learning little tips, stuff like that. But then just online, it gives you good access to get good information then to build things out.
And it's also a set of skills that, you know, once you learn how to advertise your business online, whether it's fitness or whatever, those set of skills carry over, that in the future, if you had to adapt or go somewhere else or do something else, you can market and potentially sell your skill or your business. And that in itself, every business needs sales. And people think, oh, if you're advertising, you must. No, it's why, as you said, you made a good example there. Why are Mercedes and all these big Audi companies still spending billion? They have the money, but they want more, and it's a good way. It keeps you in the forefront of people. Like, as I said, you and Barry Kreiner, who I see every day on Facebook, and it shows it's working. Otherwise you wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, and also like it's to understand as well, like when you advertise correctly through Facebook, like they have an algorithm that's tracking the performance of your ads within Ads Manager, and it's adapting it based on the market. So it's doing the work for you. So that's why like a boost post doesn't. That's just slapping around in front of people. But like even I remember I hired a marketing agency. I wanted to outsource stuff. And I said, I'll let you run stuff for 3 months. And then like to set up everything, I looked at it and I was going like, I just paid you a decent chunk of money here to do stuff that I know inside out how to do. And I was going like, but like what you said, like it's nice in a way. I look at it and I was going like, I've learned the skills. So like no matter what, like I can adapt in future, and there's always going to be avenues for me to work.
Absolutely, yeah. And, a lot of people think, like, so getting back to the algorithm, like social media platforms are like always changing and they're becoming unpredictable, and sometimes they can be very challenging to navigate. So have you encountered any difficulties in getting your content seen by target audiences? Is there any tricks you've learned maybe that...
Instagram is the one that just makes you want to bounce the phone off the wall, because like what works now will be different in 3 months' time. Like they're adapting and changing so much, and like even the information you're coming out, like from Instagram themselves, they're giving you stuff that changed like a week ago. You're thinking, that doesn't work any longer.
Yeah.
So like the reach now, it's gone away from longer form. Anything over 20 seconds, they don't want it. They don't push it. It goes nowhere. But if you post something that's 3 seconds long, boom, it's everywhere. I was going like, 3 seconds is absolute nonsense. Like, so like we're moving away. It's that they're going with the more TikTok way now. It's just to get consumption.
Yeah.
They don't like the message isn't that. So you have to get really creative at your copywriting, understanding how to write and get hooks in to actually get someone to stop.
Yeah.
Before, years ago, it was simply just getting an attention grabbing image, slap it on Facebook, boom, it was fine. The reach was 3,000-4,000 you could hit with just for free.
Yeah.
Now you might get 200 to 300 people. Like the reaches just went boom, and
massive.
It's just as well. Like, so when I advertise, any of my organic posts afterwards drop off a cliff because they want you to put money back in. They're trying to just keep you looping in.
Yeah.
And like, it's the one thing is like a lot of people complain about Facebook stuff like that, and like, but like the end user, so the person that's just scrolling Facebook, the newsfeed, like they're unfortunately the product.
Like, of course they are, yeah, because they're not paying for it, so they are the product.
They're the product, and that's it's why like when the complainants go like, no, like I'm the one that's chucking money at them. That's where they're getting the money from.
But they're the ones giving out.
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's why like you run ads and get this off my newsfeed. I was like, come on,
yeah, exactly. That's just. I mean, look. Everyone sees ads they don't want to see. You just scroll by. You don't start. You pulling your hair out. Like, yeah, exactly. It's part of the world we live in now, and it ain't going away either. It might change, as we said, as you said, from maybe this, that, and the other. But so right now, what's working though, from what I see, especially from an engagement point of view, is videos.
Yeah,
short form video. This TikTok video kind of era we're in now, where, as you said, 3 seconds, 5 seconds. But have you seen? Because you do some video promotion on your site. So tell us a bit about that. Do you find an engagement increase when you do videos as opposed to maybe text posts, image posts?
So it's combination. So I think the videos are really good because, again, like people are getting to understand the person. You're creating a relationship because they're actually seeing the person behind the post. I remember years ago I'd be writing blogs, stuff like that, and people would message me, like, who writes these for you? And I was like, I'm not that much of an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, whereas like videos, things like that, you've now multiple angles to be able to keep creating that relationship with people. Some of the carousels are okay. I just don't like making them time consuming, and you just don't get much out of them. And then I think it's getting to the point, definitely this year now, there's been a big shift. People are moving away from those really curated the content. The really fancy videos where there are transitions and there's overlays. And people are going like, they've been done to death so much where people like, they just want like more just natural, organic looking stuff. And so that's kind of I've always done it that way, and
It's old school as well. It
that,
really is.
Well, it probably just shows my age. I don't
No,
have
but
patience.
that's it. And I'm in the same boat. It's old school because it's what worked. It's how kind of it felt more original. But the trends that we see, like you said about, you know, the transitions, the speed ramps and the slow mo, that'll do its thing to the death. And then people, just like maybe fashion, it comes full circle. And what wasn't working is working, and what wasn't working is now also working, or vice versa.
So one of the best bits of advice, just have a mentor at the moment for, you know, just business stuff like that. And he told me, he goes like, if you run your business on trends, it will always live and die on trends. So
that's good. Yeah.
So I just focus more on just being authentic, be myself, putting out stuff that I believe in, rather than playing up to certain trends or playing up to the camera to try and, like, you know, just show people what they need to see to get them in the door, to give me money. And like, because there's so much of that, like, it's
especially in that industry as well.
Oh, it's lethal. And like, it's because as well, like, I'm hammered with ads every day, and people message me saying like, oh, become an online coach and earn 10 grand a year and live in Dubai, or 10 grand a month. You know, you'll get to live in Dubai, laptop lifestyle, you know, you won't have to train anyone in person. And I was just going like, and those ads are every single day.
They really
and
are.
That's the thing. They're getting people to play up to the camera just to get cash in the door.
Of course, yeah. It's conveyor belt. That's all they want.
Yeah,
they don't want to worry about fulfillment or the product they're selling. Whereas in your case, you believe in what you're doing and you want to go about it the right way that you feel authentic at that. So I personally think that's the best way of going about business as well, you know.
That, and just also on that, like, so I focus more on the training, and like I have a philosophy for the training programs that are right, and I care about the people. Whereas like all the new age ones, those mentors that are trying to hammer you, make 10 grand a month, they just want you to chase the money. So I'd rather just help the people and do things the right way, than just hammering people for money.
So maybe tell us a bit then about your own personal fitness journey, Colm, because and maybe how does the Stronglife name, brand, where did that come about? And
okay, so this is the long one. So, you know, just growing up as a kid, like, I was always had a bit of, say, like, puppy fat. But unfortunately, as the teenagers hit, the puppy fat didn't really go away. And then as part of that, because I just started getting a lot more self-conscious with my weight around like 15 years of age, stuff like that. And then I kind of fell into this cycle then. So as my weight kind of kept increasing, so there's this horrible loop that a lot of people end up in. So like, you feel you're unhappy because you're overweight, but food makes you happy. It gives you a short-term relief. So you eat to feel, you know, to feel happier, which
vicious
then
circle,
you gain more weight because you're eating. So you end up feeling like crap because you're still out of shape and overweight. So then you eat a little bit more then just to make yourself feel happy. Just, it was always the dopamine and the comfort, and then just this loop. So then it rolled through, and then like it just stripped away a lot of kind of just confidence and self-belief and things like that. And that's why then I started pulling away from sports teams. I was embarrassed by how I looked that kind of way, and it spiraled. College then really accelerated it. And then my 21st birthday, I remember, like, I was 18 stone, and it just, you know, and looking back, like, it's those vital years, like 18 to 22, like, they're the years you get to let loose. Now I let loose plenty, but in terms of just within yourself, you know, you're meant to be a little bit more carefree and, you know, open to doing things. I never done any sun holidays with the lads because I didn't want to be seen on the beach, things like that. You know, I was kind of using clothes to cover myself, things like that. And then it just got to the point then where like it was taking so much away from my life. There was just not as much enjoyment. Then obviously, look, partying at the weekends helped, because it was that kind of thing. It gave you that bit of an outlet. You got away from the misery during the week, and, you know, it was escapism nearly. You know, you went out for pints with the lads, you great crack, stuff like that. But there's a quote I read years ago, I think it was Tim Ferriss or someone put it up, and it was like, alcohol helps you borrow happiness from tomorrow. And I was going like, geez, when I read that, I was going like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. You know, but like, it just gave me that escape from the lack of confidence, like the way I was viewing myself because of my weight, and like stuff I was saying to myself internally. You know, you could switch that off for the weekend, have a bit of crack, but then obviously cans of Bulmers doesn't help the weight. So it built up, and just everything. I got to the point where like it just weighed me down, like literally, in every way possible. I wasn't enjoying life anymore. I'd pull back from a lot of social occasions, the ideas of ever having a girlfriend, stuff like that, like it didn't sit well with me. And yeah, I was just ashamed how I looked. It came to a head then in 2009. I remember like just I'd spent so long, I'd be going to bed at night, I was going like, what am I doing? Like, I don't want to live like this. But when you're that deep into it, and it's very hard to change or like switch it, because it becomes habitual. Like, if that happens over a period of 10 years, like I tell all my clients now, like lifestyle change, stuff like, it's not a light switch. You don't just walk over to the wall, flip it, and next thing you get up tomorrow and everything's going to be perfect and you lose loads of weight. So I think like there internally, I just kept burying myself more and more. And then, 2009, it just ended up in a bad place. I was sick of it. I hated the way I looked, felt, everything. I need to do something about it. And then, I suppose just life was a little bit hard then just to cope with it all. Just my self-belief, everything was gone. And I just bit the bullet and I just got thick with it. And I suppose, truth be told, I went out one Friday night with the lads, and just everything that had been ruminating in my head and that kind of had a bit of an emotional wobble, let's say. And it was one of those things. Two of the lads actually were very good to me that night. A few words of encouragement, things like that. So shout out to Barry Simon and Jerry Cass. It was it's weird. It's one of those vivid things I can look back, and I remember the exact hoodie. I had like the striped bench hoodie on, and it had a pair of bootcut jeans from Jack and Jones. And I looking back now, how were the women not crawling all over me? But and it was just one of those things, and it just came to a head. I think just I'd been so sick of how I was living and like how much my weight was dictating kind of the crack I should have been having. I could see the way I wanted to live, the things I wanted to do, the fun I wanted to have, but this had just destroyed it all nearly. I was thinking, I don't want to live like this either, much like the job. So then, I got up and I remember waking up the next morning then. I was embarrassed by what had happened, a bit ashamed, but I was angry. I was angry that I'd even just let it get to that point. So first of all, I did what every Irish lad does. I texted the lads and I said, sorry about last night. That was the drink talking. Don't hate me. It's the greatest cop-out of anything. But then, there was just a bit of space in my head mentally, whereas like just that tiny bit of space where I could separate myself and think like, do you know what? I'm going to change this. It was to get away from that, like pull myself out from just beating myself up so much and like feeling like that. And I looked and I was like, no, I'm doing this. So I pulled myself together, a bottle of Lucozade, helped the hangover. But then, that Monday, Skinner was actually working in results in town, and I went into him. I just knew him through David, like great friends with David, and I think everyone knew the Conroys. So Skinner was in there. I remember chatting to him and stuff like that, and I just got started and I just let loose. But every bit of anger and that towards myself, everything. I just poured it all in, and between March 2009 and September 2010, I lost 6.5 stone.
Jesus.
Yeah, so it was 91 pounds, I think, if I'm correct.
Right.
But like, I got obsessed with, I wanted to hit the 100-pound mark, and that was only just for external validation.
Right. So the scales were the kind of the
I got fixated on it. I was going like, every time, and then which like obviously there's more to it, but like it's great now because I know what it's like to be deep in there, being unhappy, but also getting fixated on the scales. So like when I get clients, I know what they're where they want to go through. I know probably how they're talking to themselves right now, and I know the impact that the fucking scales can have on people. So I'm very cautious with stuff like that. But but unfortunately I done it arseways. So I used hatred, and it was more like nearly survival. I was thinking, I need to get this off me as quick as I can. And I just trained like a lunatic, stuff like that, dieted, pretty much like ate very little calories. And I remember getting out of the shower one day and I looked in the mirror and I was going like, who's this skinny fella? Like, I was just gone to nothing. And I remember Eileen Higgins actually pulled me aside in town one day, and Eileen's a mammy to everyone nearly. And she's
a bit more now, Colm.
Yeah, she goes like, Colm, come on now, you're gone gaunt. And I was going like, I thought she was going to bring me up and feed me a dinner, and stuff like that. And which you get sucked into it as well, because when I was losing weight, like suddenly then you were getting attention from people, like you were getting compliments. But like one of the most powerful things was like you felt respected. you know, when you're overweight, you kind of feel you're invisible a little bit. And then suddenly when you're in shape and you feel more of you're part of the crew, you know, or you can mingle with people, or you're just less in your head. Yeah.
More confidence.
Yeah, confidence. And you kind of feel a bit of respect from people. Just like, fair play, this fella worked his arse off to change. And then, so because I'd done things arseways, like fair enough, look, I got the weight off, things like that. But I kind of want to learn about it more then. So that was like 2010. I started researching like weight training, nutrition. I started kind of moving more into strength training and powerlifting type things. I suppose 2010 as well, there was very little information online. You know, you had to be really sure who you were reading about. Whereas now, like
Everyone,
like a YouTube search, you're going to find tremendous people with like PhDs in nutrition and exercise science. Whereas back then, like, you know, it was internet forums, and like this could be some headbanger like in Westside Gym, like full to the gills with steroids, and he's just telling you, oh yeah, you just need to eat eggs, or like something like that. So it was kind of working through that. And then like when I started feeling like the strength building up, like suddenly then you understood like how like eating better and that like you actually get more energy and you're no longer trying to beat your body down. So I was coming at it in a far more positive light. Whereas like I'd gotten through the anger phase to get it off, and I was like, oh, this is nice. And then like the confidence started shifting, like could see like the change in you. You were starting to like, you know, throw on a small bit of muscle, even though you always think you're bigger than you are. So that's kind of where it all got to, and I just kept training.
So what were
adapting.
So when you started training, when you wanted to lose the weight back in 2009, you said you just hit the gym. So can you kind of give us an idea of like, were you doing all weights? I know you said you were dieting, but when you went into the gym, were you doing cardio, weights, or combination, or what?
It was a combination. It was heavily just circuits, like real high intensity circuits, high reps, just literally just blasting, and then like clocking up like an hour of cardio after every session. So like it could be 2 hour sessions minimum, and you could, I think I was doing that like 5 times a week in that. And like this was before you had apps to track food or anything like that. So I was just winging it. But like as long as the scales dropped a couple of pounds each week, I was happy.
Yeah.
I didn't care. Like I was kind of like, so it wasn't done from the most healthy perspective either. Whereas like I wouldn't let anybody do that now. But yeah, so I just went in, just rattled through it, then just cut out, like I started banning food groups again, which I do not let anyone do now. Like, and then like that, chicken and broccoli the whole way.
The good old staple.
Yeah.
And so back in those days, Colm, when you were kind of struggling with your weight, did you find it challenging to talk openly or to anyone about the struggles you were facing?
Oh, I didn't.
You didn't talk to
anyone until 4 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you bottle it, and
yeah,
it's the Irish man thing.
Yeah, it is.
I always compare it to like, remember when you were younger and you had visitors coming to your house, and your mother had cleaned the whole house, but she'd put all the shite into one room and she'd close the door and she'd sit you down. She goes, if you open that door and let anyone see in there, I'll put you on Dundee tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's kind of what we do in our own heads. Like, on the outside, you'll show everyone like all the nice stuff. Jeez, yeah. But you keep that little doorway closed in the back, and it's easy to feel exposed and vulnerable when you let stuff like that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned there about, you know, it's a kind of a man thing. So can you talk a bit about maybe the importance of kind of destigmatizing the conversations around men's mental health when it comes to body image? Because, you know, we know breaking down these barriers can encourage more men nowadays, or, you know, adolescents, teenagers, to kind of seek help and maybe talk to someone. So, you know, do you wish those options were available for you? Or was it a case, as you said, you would lock that room door and no one was getting near it?
I think like back then, like I was so afraid of someone seeing it. Like, you know, you didn't want to be, especially at that age, everyone kind of wants to be macho, you know, you a bit of a chest out walking around the place. But like, you didn't want to show weakness or stuff like that, or like, you know, obviously now the narratives change completely. You know, it's okay to not be okay, things like that, and like, just way more campaigns, stuff like that. Back then there was nothing. Like, and you didn't want to be seen like as a coward or weak or anything like that. So it would have been tremendous, even to understand that there's other people that have gone through with things like that, and even like training so many people over the last few years, like definitely there is a difference in the genders. Like females are a lot more open about what they want to change about themselves and why. Whereas like I'm not messing, like the amount of times a woman will come into the gym to me and I say, any particular thing you want to focus on, and the amount of them that will put up their arm and they will just wobble it and say, oh, I want to get rid of these bingo wings. Whereas like the conversation you have with a lad, like you'll say, what's the goal? And they'll just go, you know yourself, just, lose a few pounds, tone up a bit. It's just there's a bit of a barrier there. They don't want to tell you exactly why, but deep down that, look, we're all humans. We all have emotions and thoughts and things like that. So you want to, like, lads do that as well. Like, it's when the man boobs are there, or the t-shirt's hugging in the wrong place, or there's a bit of a belly hanging over the top of the jeans. Like, lads feel the exact same way. It's just this thing that it's almost like understood where you're not meant to tell anyone about it.
Yeah, I think that's even more so in this era we live in, where social media is the mirror on the wall.
Yeah,
for youngsters. So the pressure must even be way bigger than, as I said, we didn't have social media in our day, obviously. So we can't relate to what it must be to maybe look a certain way. And all that. So it's a completely different era. And I always I can't relate to that era because we didn't live in it. So it must be very difficult for young, not only female, but male these days, because there's this kind of masculinity kind of image that's, going around on social media.
And so I look at it as well, like if I had Instagram when I was 19, when I was in the depths of being so unhappy with how I looked and like my weight, like I can only imagine how much worse that would have been, because every time you open your phone now, if you're anyways into fitness, your Instagram is like just full of like topless people.
Yeah.
Like, and you're thinking like, oh, I'm meant to look like that.
Yes, yeah, it's true.
And my big problem is like the last 12 months, fitness photo shoots have become massive in the fitness industry. But like I try and educate my clients to the context behind that photo. So someone that diets down to do the photo shoot, like first of all, like they've dieted down very low calories. They'll manipulate carbohydrates and water so that they're sucked in and super lean for the photo. They'll also tan, which tanning brings up lines, definition even better. Then the photos, like photographers are very good at catching the angles to get them right. And then also like those photos are touched up. They'll take blemishes out, stuff like that. And then like that person will look different a week later. But because that one photo is forever there, like people judge themselves, I want to look like that. I said, but like it's not very sustainable, and like that exists for a couple of days.
And you also see that with the filters that are on social media. So people are getting conditioned, as well as scrolling for TikTok videos for 3 seconds consumption, as you say. They're also looking at images of themselves with a filter on it. And that again is conditioning the mind so that, because no one looks like their filter, nor should they. But again, it's this kind of perception, as you said, of you're meant to look a certain way. And that's why it's so hard for the youngsters of today to kind of know anywhere different, because they have no frame of reference.
And I think it's actually nearly every age group now, because everyone is on social media, so they're seeing things. But like, even if you're in your 30s and you're seeing people in their 30s that are in serious shape, like they could be an anomaly, like how many people in their 30s, 40s, 50s that are walking around. Then you also have to look behind the scene as well, because like, are they taking anything?
Yeah.
Like TRT is a massive thing within it now. And like, don't forget, I'm very cynical when it comes to stuff like that. When there's money to be made in fitness, people will cut corners and they'll take shortcuts. And like, there's a lot of people out there that are potentially using things to look a certain way so to make money.
You see a big trend at the moment, or I don't know if you want to call it a trend, but have you heard of Ozempic?
Yeah.
This is huge now.
Yeah.
And this is very dangerous, without getting into the kind of the science of it. But it's like almost a virtual, what's the word I'm looking for? A virtual sleeve on your stomach.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than doing the actual stomach sleeve, I think is that what it's called or something?
The gastric sleeve, yeah.
Gastric sleeve.
Yeah.
It's a virtual one of these in a way, because your mind, your brain is conditioned so that your stomach will reject a certain amount of food after you feel. So, again, it's a completely different area. But again, these are trends.
Yeah,
These are
and like
shortcuts you were talking about that people are going to be like, everyone likes a quick fix. Whereas when it comes to certain things, your health, your fitness, if it's quick, it ain't going to be good.
that kind of way. And even like, I talk like the way I lost my weight, I wouldn't let anyone do that now,
Yeah, exactly. You said that. Yeah, it's just
you know,
extreme in a way to lose 6.5 stone. And, not saying you can't do it, but you were probably, as you said, you were really cutting on the calories. You were going hell for leather in the gym. It worked for you, but as a coach now, you wouldn't let that happen to someone if they were under
no,
your...
I like unless like it was like prescribed by a medical professional, something like that. So something
Yeah.
that's actually genuinely be monitored. But it's even just not healthy mentally. Like, like you lose a lot of the relationship with food and like what you're actually trying to achieve out of it. So I prefer to try and move things into a more positive aspect. And like even now, like, look, so many people that come to me, they've already tried their diets and their intense exercise, stuff like that, probably several times. They've probably lost a few pounds, gained a few more, things like that. So like it's more now about taking them and implementing something that they enjoy, is sustainable, and they can kind of see themselves doing longer term, that benefits their life long into the future, rather than just getting that photo on holidays or something like that. And that's kind of the whole Stronglife thing, because obviously everything I went through, like losing the weight, kind of then finding strength training to kind of then rebuild my confidence along with my body kind of thing. And I just got to the point where I started enjoying life, and opened more doors to actually just doing things. So I used to say no to so many social things, or like just hanging out, things like that, when I was so overweight, because I just didn't want to be seen. Like, whereas like when you get that and you start building up and the doors start opening, life is fun. You can treat it like an adventure. So then like when it came to opening the gym, it was the only ever thing I was going to call it, because like, strength training had helped me build a better, fitter and stronger life.
A stronger life, yeah.
So then I just thought like Stronglife.
Yeah.
I didn't want to just attach like Colm Duignan Fitness. I was thinking like, no, I want some brand. And then I slapped the logo on the wall in the gym and everything. I was going like, okay, that's cool. That's mine.
Yeah, that's a good way, yeah.
Yeah.
And so from the first day you opened up your doors to even just say this month now in 2024, have you seen trends that people, when they come into the gym, they're looking for maybe not the same thing they were looking for 10 years ago? Are they looking to kind of change a certain aspect of their body as opposed to maybe 10 years ago? The way we always think people change on, the guys back in the day. I know for a fact, when I was a young fella, you didn't have the young guys walking around as built as they are these days. That's because of the advancement of social media. So when you get people, male or female, coming to your gym to sign up, do they have specific goals in mind that changed from 10 years ago?
Oh, definitely. Like kids is the big one. So, especially for mothers, before, like, it might be more aesthetic. Now it's like, just I want to kind of get back in shape a bit, rebuild my strength so that my core feels a little bit tighter, things like that. But it's more, but I also want to be able to live a life. Like, they're not willing to turn off everything just to try and get in shape. Then actually a lot of the 50 plus crew that I have, like some of them, if they've grandchildren, stuff like that, like their whole thing is they want to be able to keep up with the grandkids because they've so much crack playing with them, so that's their goal, which is like 10, 15 years ago. Some of them as well, they just want to stay longevity for hiking, traveling, things like that. There's no point retiring if you're just going to, sit around. Like, that's for them. They just think like, no, they want to just keep active. Then I think people are being a lot more proactive. The 50-year-olds thinking more like the lines of osteoporosis, retain as much muscle mass, things like that. So then they're kicking any age-related things further down the line.
Yeah.
And then like, even lads in their 30s, it's more about just keeping trim so they can throw on a suit or a shirt to go to dinner or stuff like that. And they feel good, feel good around the wife, things like that, rather than just out like, needing to press other lads. It's so I think it's more when people progress, like after 10 years, stuff like that, like it's more what's happening internally rather than chasing the externals.
Yeah, that's a good answer. So what to focus on to be healthy and probably happy in 2024 and beyond?
So I suppose like the big thing for me is like, it's always the way you exercise and eat right now. It's an accumulation of how you've eaten over the last number of weeks, months and years. So like that, again, the light switch analogy, it's not just simple as that. So the whole thing is to kind of just start somewhere and then scale your way up the way. So I always treat it like a staircase. You know, you can try and jump straight to the top and get to your goal, but you're probably going to come flying back down. Take it one step at a time. Start off with the basics this week. Next week, then add on one other thing. So like tracking your steps, it's good. Not to get too obsessive, but it's just has shown so many health benefits. I think it used to be 10,000. Now it's about like 8,800 is kind of sweet spot to get the maximum amount of health benefits from it. Then obviously just maintain a healthy body weight. Like you're not opening the doors to any kind of lifestyle related diseases, stuff like that down the line. And then just, there's so much information out there, like it's enough to make your head spin. So I always trying to reduce it down. Okay, what do we need to do this week that can have you in a slightly better place next week? So it's always just the basics, focus on using your steps where you're not clock watching, but you're actually outside de-stressing. If you're working from home, it's a chance to actually get outside, get some fresh air, like listen to something you enjoy, switch off so that when you come back to the house, it's no longer the workspace, it's back to your actually leisure. Yeah. Little things like that. Then just focusing on just eating well, but like without getting too obsessed over like cutting out food groups like carbs, always get demonized, things like that. And then just navigating. A lot of what I do as well is taking the pressure off people, and like where I can map out things in a very sensible way for them to kind of move forward without then having to do X, Y, or Z and getting overwhelmed. And to also give them a chance that if they slip up, that you're allowed to slip up. You can get back on the wagon. You didn't fail. Like it's a minor thing. Don't like it's that old cliche. Like you only fail if you don't try again. Things like that. But like that's the thing. A lot of people already they're starting off because they're feeling a certain way about themselves. They might feel a certain amount of guilt, things like that. If you can remove that, that person's a lot more freer to actually make long-term change. So it's a combination of the physical thing, but also the mental thing of giving yourself the chance to do it. The space where like if something doesn't go your way, you can still keep moving forward.
And if someone was to ask you then, Colm, what would be one aspect of Stronglife gym that differs to maybe other gyms, not only around, but like in general?
Yeah, in general. So like from day one, the big thing I wanted was I didn't want anyone to be simply a number. So I wanted anyone to come into the gym that, I get to know them. I probably know too much about everything about them, to be honest. But, it's to take a genuine interest in them, so that no one wants to feel invisible when they go into a gym or like treat it like, oh, they just pay at the door and then that's it. Like, so it's more getting to know the person, understanding how they move, things like that. And actually, so I do all like personalized programs for everyone that comes in. And that happened by getting to know the person. Not just their goals, how to move, what old injuries they have, kind of what stage they're at in life, kind of where their interests are outside of it. Like some of the girls, if they're runners, it's making sure they're training the balance so the gym doesn't take away from the runs, things like that. So yeah, it's literally just a friendly environment where like everyone's mapped out. So I just ask people, like the only thing they have to do is walk in the door. I have everything else taken care of for them.
Yeah. And so for aspiring individuals or entrepreneurs that want to go down the same path as maybe not in the fitness industry, but just entrepreneurship in general, what advice would you give to them based on your own experience of starting a business at the age of a brick and mortar business at the age of 26?
Just try it. Just, like the way I looked at it that time again, like was just, you've loads of time that if it doesn't work out, you can pull it back. But it's not even to go in with that mindset. It's just to go in thinking this is going to work out. Don't be afraid to like, a lot of people I think walk away when some of the lean months hit, things like that. And just don't be afraid to fail. There's a concept about failing forwards. So it's kind of like, it's like a turtle in the past, stuff like that. You put your head out, you try something. If it doesn't work, you retreat into your shell and you stay there. But like, there's so many things that you will do wrong along the way. So like if something doesn't work, you just chalk it down to experience. You try the next thing and you just keep moving forwards.
Yeah. And just one of the last ones, I suppose, is like if you could go back and give yourself some advice give a younger self some advice at the beginning of the journey, what would it be?
Probably just go easy on yourself. That kind of way. It's like, I know it's one of those things like as much as you want to change, you kind of do have to go easy on yourself that little bit, just give yourself the chance to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't think any of us ever do anything to our best of abilities if we're putting ourselves under immense pressure.
Yeah. And is there anything that we haven't talked about? I always end like this. Is there anything I haven't touched on that you would have liked me to ask?
Right now, I'm afraid I've been talking for so long. Talking isn't the problem. Shutting up is.
Well, that's fair enough. Well, listen, Colm, thanks very much for coming on. A very candid, open and honest chat. And I'm sure listeners will get a lot from it. So thanks very much.
Perfect. Thanking you.